Rugby World Rankings, folks. Eddie Jones' side moving up in the rankings as they head into a Pacific Nations Cup final. Springboks #1 spot still on the line this weekend in the Rugby Championship. We'll go through the Rugby World Rankings pretty quick, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on how fair or not the things are as they stand here in the latter half of 2024. Obviously, the Rugby Championship teams were not in action this weekend just gone as the teams travel the box off to South Africa, and the All Blacks are now over in Australia for the upcoming games. So South Africa 1, Ireland 2, New Zealand 3, France 4, England 5, Scotland, Argentina 6, 7, Italy, Australia 8, 9. No change within these teams. None of these teams in action. The Fijians were in action in that 10th spot with their Pacific Nations Cup win over the US. If you missed that one, it was 22 points to 3. So a Fijian side which didn't score a stupid amount of tries, but were defensively very solid. Big scrum, which is maybe not what you stereotypically think of Fijian rugby, but that's what it was as they head into the Pacific Nations Cup final. Didn't take any points from the US, with the gap between the sides being more than 10 points and being played at neutral Japan. And speaking of Japan, they have overtaken Samoa with their win over Samoa. They won 49 points to 27 in the Pacific Nations Cup. So Eddie Jones potentially getting things right. It is kind of hard to say because sides like Samoa and Fiji and whatnot aren't kind of at full roster strength with European guys. A lot of them kind of taking the summer break off and not appearing. Some of the guys have been appearing, like some of the big guys like Theo McFarlane and whatnot for Samoa have been playing, but Japan with pretty much full access to their players has made it through to the final, and a kind of pretty poor July from Eddie Jones seems to be turned around, and honestly they are playing some very attractive rugby. I know we all like to give Eddie Jones a lot of stick for his behaviour in press conferences and whatnot, the controversy around the way he left the Aussie job, but if nothing else, the Japanese are playing some fun attacking rugby. So you don't score 49 points without at least kind of partially entertaining, but they did concede a bunch. So you go into the situation where this high-scoring Japanese side, but also lets in a few points, takes on a defensively very solid Fijian side who haven't really unleashed their full offense yet. Which side gets the job done there kind of remains to be seen. Samoa drops the spot, and the Tongans in the 5th place match for Pacific Nations Cup beat Canada. So they haven't done enough to catch the Portuguese, but they did manage to take a little pointage. The other sides, no changes for the remainder on the whiteboard. So that's how things are stacking up with the Pacific Nations Cup heading into its final round. Japan could potentially pass Georgia if they were to get a win. And Fiji, if everything went right for them, could heap the misery on the Aussies and send them down into 10th. But that would require the Aussies to lose the Bledisloe match against the All Blacks. So we'll kind of have to wait and see if both those things happens. The All Blacks, they can take points off the Aussies, but not a heck of a lot. But they are away from home, so certainly not enough to catch 2nd spot. But they could potentially drop to 4th if they were to lose Bledisloe 1. It would make Bledisloe 2 over here in New Zealand particularly spicy if the pressure were to pile on Razors boys, but the All Blacks are big favourites for that one. And the Aussies could potentially pass Italy, if they were to get the upset win over the ABs. I mentioned South Africa can lose number 1. Well, they can. They are away in Argentina, and basically every game of this Rugby Championship, they have had the number 1 spot on the line because they are ahead and they will drop points by the bundle if they lose. But they are also in a position where they can take points. The gap between them and Argentina is close enough, with Argentina being at home, that in game 1 they could take like 0.19 for a 1-15 win. Or if it's a 16 plus point win, they could take 0.29. So it could go on kind of extending their lead at the top. The Argentinians could pass the Scots for that all-important 6th spot in the Rugby World Rankings, which is a big one if they were to get a win. Now, if you wanted to see, because sometimes people bemoan the fact that you can't take points off teams or take minimal points off team. If you watch the women's game at the weekend, number 1 England beat number 2 New Zealand and didn't take any points. That's how far England's women's team ahead of everybody else. England's on 96.90. New Zealand are on 89.32. And with the game being played at home at Twickenham, no points exchange. Number 1 beats number 2. No points exchange. That English women's side is is quite incredible. So, yeah, those are the Rugby World Rankings. What do you guys reckon for how fair or not they are? If you want to see me and Tony from Distracted Sports eat some mooncakes and have some rather interesting reactions, check out this video over on 2 Sets on Tour. Me and Tony sat down, ate some traditional Chinese Mid-Autumn Festival snacks, and they were different. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, certainly check it out. Leave us a comment if you came from the Rugby channel, because it'll be interesting to see you guys there. Let us know your thoughts on the rankings. Take care. Subscribe to the channel. Talk to you guys again soon. See you later.